My name is Justin Joseph, and I am the Startup Shaman. I'm trying out something new today. I used to do my own personal tarot by myself, but I figured that it would make sense to start to make that a collective activity. So this is a Tuesday tarot, and tarot is something that isn't a solo act. It may look like card pulling is just something between me and the cards or a story I'm telling, but it's something that's supported by higher order forces and energies, and my higher self really kind of gets to come out and speak during these readings. And so I'll use the first card to really offer a dedication to those higher orders, those higher systems, those higher senses of self, and then go into what is called a creative container, or a conscious creative container reading. And so it looks at polarities, and I'll show that as we get closer. So let's start off with an archetype. So this is Kim Kranz's Archetypes deck. She builds just really beautiful cards, and they're very relevant to the times. The Queen. This is like the fourth day in a row I've gotten this card, so I know it really well, and I'll still take a little time and read it. If you watch the other video on the channel, it's the very first Startup Shaman Saturday. The Queen was also the archetype that was present in that reading. So it reads this. The Queen, the Empress, the Mother Queen, the Sovereign. Like her counterpart, the King, the Queen has a dualistic nature. Either she presides over the realm with grace and eloquence that comes from the heavens to uplift the spirit of others, or she falls into petty, contemptuous moods, casting a shadow across the land. If the King is the ego, the Queen is the expression of that ego in the world. She is the lotus's bloom, the dancer's bow, the moon's radiant reflection. When the Queen is seated in her rightful and righteous place, she is patient and forgiving. She waits for the grace of God and Goddess to move through her, striving and grasping for nothing. To be the benevolent leader, to embody the Queen, is to settle into deep trust, resolve, and power. The royal Queen fears nothing, for divinity itself cradles her heart. The Queen does not accept the hand of a prince, but claims the throne, knowing the King draws near. She is a magnet for the fully embodied masculine and entertains nothing less. When light, the embodiment of grace, courage, resolve, stillness. When dark, vain, wrathful, self-righteous, and demanding. So we dedicate this reading to the Queen, the archetype of the Queen, and the Queen in all of us. So when I feel into that Queen energy, especially in this type of creative container reading, I really get the sense of, there's a lot of talk in our culture right now around divine masculine, divine feminine. And the Queen to me is a expression of that ethos, or the essence, or the archetype that is the divine feminine. When it comes to creative projects, I think oftentimes we're run by the idea that we need to have results, What is the end goal? How do we get to the money we're looking to earn? How do we get to a place of metrics? How do we achieve our vision now or today or yesterday based off of striving for benchmarks, landmarks? I find that in myself very often, and for me, the queen, that patience and that resolve and that femininity allow for her to relax and to let come what may, while also having the strength and the power and the confidence to know that she knows what she wants, and by intending it and by seeing it from that deep place of trust, it will come in the right time, in the right way. So I'm going to use this Thoth Tarot deck. It's by a guy named, I guess it was originally designed by a man named Aleister Crowley, and it has a lot of fascinating and deep imagery in it. And we'll just pick 2 cards. And the whole idea with this reading is to look at what energies are alive, again, kind of archetypal, that are creating or that we can understand our creative container by, to become more conscious of it. So a conscious creative container reading. So we have 1. And we have 2. And I'll pull the bottom to the top. So before I flip them over, on the top of the deck we have the Ace of Cups. And so for me, the Ace of Cups, especially in this deck, is speaking about new beginnings. It talks about, in this picture, the cup isn't just full, it's overflowing. It's not just overflowing, but it's spouting out and flowing in every single direction. And for me, the aces are the all-encompassing nature of whatever sign or character they're in. So cups are watery and they're emotional, they're fluid. And so this Ace of Cups is really this brand new beginning, this brand new experience, this freshness, but also this recognition of an ending of a state of emotional being, and a new relationship to something being fluid in our lives. And when I kind of feel into that deeper, it's our relationship to our work. So sometimes when I work, it can be a really emotional experience. People say business is not emotion, or keep your personal life out of your professional life. And for me, that's just never been true. And when I feel the Ace of Cups being here, it talks about how there's this new stability and capacity to embody and to bring our full emotional spectrum into this creative container and allow it to be what brings this almost abundant and prosperity that is shown and depicted in the picture. On the bottom of the deck, we have the 8 of Pentacles, 8 of Discs. So this is discs are very grounded, they're very practical, very material. Sometimes they're lessons, sometimes they're finance. And the 8 of Cups in this deck, or Pentacles, is called prudence. And so for me, this is really about the capacity and the willingness to make right choice based on what resources are needed and are present. In this picture, you can kind of see this tree is not like a sapling or a seedling. It's actually growing pretty well. And it is actually starting to bear flowers with the potential for fruit. And so I feel this sense of, although we have this new relationship to our work and to our business, from an emotional standpoint, the material aspect of it is actually quite mature. And it's getting ready to bear fruit. And so it's really important that we continue to keep forward, move forward consciously, and do so in a way that respects the resources that we do have and the resources that we don't have, respects what is coming and also what is currently here. I imagine a sapling needs a different type of care than a mature tree that is flowering and getting ready to bear fruit. So I feel the time that we've invested in our work so far, and I feel the closeness that we are to seeing the material success that comes on the other side, whether that be in the form of a lesson or in the form of finances, and also our emotional freshness that's really going to allow us to water and to nurture what is here and what is to come. So polarity. On the left side, we have the Emperor. And on the right side, we have the Fool. So, two major arcana sitting on top of the Queen. For me, the Emperor, I think it represents Aries in this kind of like astrology aligned with tarot. And I know a lot of Aries, and they are about their business. And they're about their business in a way where it doesn't really matter what anyone else wants or thinks. It's about what they know and what they want and what feels good for them. They're very good at following and trusting their own senses and their own desires and seeing those things through. And I feel like with this Emperor card, he's not looking around for validation. He's actually looking away like, I don't need confirmation. He's sitting in his power. He has this face that says, if you want my attention, you have to earn it. And you have these rams in the back, but you also have this little lamb. And so I find this distinction, because although the Emperor has this kind of standoffish, prove yourself, I know my worth mentality, there's also a deep sensitivity to the Emperor, which I think actually allows him to be what he is in the world. He's been able to guard it, ignore it, or doesn't necessarily always know how to be in relationship with that sensitivity, but the sensitivity is present. And it may actually be one of his greatest gifts. And so I really feel that here on this left side of the card, this Emperor energy, the ability to know who you are and to build and create from a place of authority while honoring and recognizing the sensitivity that may have actually allowed you or may fuel the fire within you. And then you have the Fool. So the Fool is this kind of alpha and omega card. It's like the ace of the entire deck. And I remember the story comes up of maybe it was the Holy Grail story, but it's something around how the Fool was the person the king kept closest to him. And the reason why was because one, the Fool didn't care about what anyone said about the king or what the king ever did. The Fool was able to take in all experiences and respect them and to see them and to still continue to dance and to play and to show up because they were in relationship with something greater than just the stories or narratives that most people follow or fall prey to. They didn't have to pick a side, or they didn't have to have a sense of judgment. They were able to really just be present in their relationships and present in the mythology that was their life, and show up in that way. The Fool oftentimes is seen like walking off the edge of a cliff, and in this picture, instead of a dog biting him, it's a tiger biting him. He's got the sun in his sacral. The alligator, the butterfly. There's so many different imageries. A handful of pentacles. Yeah. I can hear a narrative inside myself that says, like, am I doing this right? And I also like the presence of those things because sometimes just by saying them, it helps me come into right relationship with them. And I think that the truth of my own internal experience is actually maybe one of the most valuable parts about a tarot reading is that sometimes it gives language and context that is supportive of creating the context for messages to come about. And what I really feel here is you kind of have these two very masculine figures, the Emperor and the Fool. I mean, they both have the Fool's got a 6-pack of abs and pecs, and he's kind of got, a more of a kind of a demonic vibe to him, but he's also got this really hard body masculine. And the Emperor has the rams and the crown. He's the king energy, also very masculine, but they're both sitting on top of the archetype of the Queen. And so when I feel the energy of the Queen, like this relaxed, resolved, letting go, patience, no question of my value or my worth, and I allow the masculine Emperor, that fiery, confident creator, maybe even sometimes a little bit dictator, to sit on top of that with the playfulness and the lightness of the Fool, is quite a beautiful recipe for a creative container. So where the Emperor may be a little bit too stuck and blind in his own wants, needs, desires to truly be in a cooperative creative space, the Fool doesn't even care about what's being created as much as just finds joy in the folly and in the exploration and the experimentation and the play of the creative process. And so you're able to have this tension between certainty and knowing and regalness and almost like the need to be something in particular due to the status and the appearance, or just the simple nature of what you're having to hold, and the ability to let that thing go and to allow it to swirl around you and play around you and be what it is, and to be almost nonchalant about the outcome. And I think both these energies have a relationship to going out into the world. The Emperor is in charge of a kingdom, and he is going to expand that kingdom. He's going to execute on projects and make decrees and declarations. He is manifesting something in the world. And the Fool, although he doesn't really care about the outcome, he is still in that playfulness. He's going out into the world and having any and all experiences that call to his heart or call his being in his body, and he is engaging in them. In this way, he's also continually stepping out into the world, continually making the world the fun or the adventure that he's looking for or being called to. And having those two energies is a great gift, and you have this ability, I feel this myself, to allow those things to almost be the way I relate to the outer world, while also continuing to drop back in and relax into the archetypal energy of that Queen, which says that there's nothing for me to do here. I know who I am. I know my worth. I know what I'm looking for. I know what I'm waiting for, and there's no doubt in my mind that it will come. So I can go out in the world and conquer consciously, create what I feel called to create, and do it from a place of empowered knowing. And I also can do it from a place of playful exploration and not hold on so tightly to what will happen or how it's supposed to happen, and just enjoy the pure act of creation. And whenever either of those things becomes too intense, or those energies of creation and stepping out become too much, I can always remember or relax into the fact that I am this Queen, that grace is here, that everything that's for me will come to me because it is the divine right. And I'm saying me, but I'm also talking to you. I have an animal spirit deck, and I'll just use it to kind of bridge the polarity between So on the bottom of the deck we have the snake. So the snake's all about kundalini and magic, and if we actually look at the Fool card, and actually the Emperor as well is really interesting, the kundalini is usually at the base of the spine. So you can see here that the Fool has the sun right there. I mean, it's in the front of his body, but it's right there where the base of the spine would be. So it's this like creative, solar, magical energy. And the Emperor too is holding this kind of bomb in his hand in that same space, the sacral energy. And so what I kind of get here is that there's a real wholeness on the board. Strong, assertive, know who I am energy, and strong, anything goes, take me where you want to go energy, resting in this divine feminine grace and resolve and patience. And so this wholeness is the magic of this creative container. And this card in the deck kind of says, if you're feeling out of whack with that, if you're feeling like you can't tap into your magic, then, going to the base of your spine and feeling into that place in your body and listening and stretching it out and moving that energy up and around your body and then out into the world, because it's already here inside of you. These are all archetypes, and they are all present in the greater world, but they're also all present for you to tap into in your own expression in your work. So today you can really allow yourself to sit into the enveloping aura or field of the Queen. And from that place, you can be the Emperor, and you can also be the Fool. And you can be on a spectrum between the two, whatever feels right, knowing that you also have this emotional maturity and potentiality to bring this abundance through fluidity into your work, while also nurturing and growing what you have already been planting and caretaking for a very long time, knowing that the fruit is so close. But the magic is here within you. So I'll read one more card, and then I'll wrap it up. This is called the Wisdom Keeper's Oracle. And it's based on the Gene Keys, which is a system by Richard Rudd that I love. And so each card has a different face, and each face has a different story and a little bit of guidance. And so I'll read one card to you, and then we'll call it a day. My boy. So the card is called Lightness. And you might recognize this man. I believe it's Robin Williams. And I love Robin Williams. Lightness. Okay. So the shadow of desire moves to the city, so the highest state, the awakened state of rapture, through the gift of lightness. Every human being learns the cycle of desire is eternal. My wisdom story. I was said to have shot out of my mother's womb like a rocket, and then nursed like a baby whale. As soon as I could talk, I made people laugh. And as soon as I could walk, I ran everywhere I wasn't supposed to go. I was on a mission to experience every single part of life. So I gobbled it up through my teens and found myself becoming a young actor. I wanted to experience the sound of applause. I loved being able to be anyone and try anything my mind could dream up. So I desired the experience of being rich and famous. And so I tried that for a long time. I threw my money around like gum wrappers and chewed up my fans like chips. But those flippant times only made me feel empty and alone. My sensitive soul hungered for something different and deeper. I wanted to use every single one of my gifts so I could have an even bigger impact. Soon I was popular over the world, but no matter how huge or demanding my achievements were, I still wanted more. For a while, I thought I'd be happy if I could just learn to completely trust my instincts. When I mastered that, all I wanted was for my performances to lift the spirit of all of humanity. But I couldn't escape that awful feeling of wanting more, until the fire in me all but burned out. I became depressed and over-serious. My only desire was to end desire. That is when I discovered Buddhism, and meditated for hours in order to become one with everything and finally transcend my never-ending ache. But soon I realized that even that was a desire. No matter what I did, the desire would not go away. The moment I faced my desire, admitted defeat, and accepted that it wasn't going to go away, things started to change. I started to lighten up, but not in an ungrounded way. I genuinely stopped trying to control my life. I surrendered totally to all of it, even the most painful parts, including my utter helplessness in relation to my own desires and the inevitable disappointments that followed. I was finally free. My gift to you. I bring good and bad news. The bad. You are not in control of your destiny, and you are never going to get rid of your desire. The good. Accepting this bad news will free you to trust in life. It's time to fully feel your desires and to realize that feeling them doesn't mean acting on them indiscriminately or repressing them. You can welcome a desire into your home without allowing it to control your life. Being human is quite a trip, and life is quite a game. A comedy and tragedy all at once. You might as well enjoy the ride. Keep a sense of humor. Do not pretend to live lightly. Embrace and emanate a true lightness of being. With such an attitude, you won't need to fear your feelings, no matter how painful. A lightness will burn so bright in you. It will beam out of your eyes no matter what is happening. Questions for contemplation. Where are you taking life too seriously? Is your strict adherence to certain principles preventing you from exploring your true passions? Is it possible that some of the desires you've been rejecting aren't as bad, dangerous, or unhealthy as you've come to believe? Are your desires in control of you? Are you overindulging in what feels good without taking responsibility for the consequences? Think of someone who for you embodies true lightness of being. Have you ever experienced true rapture? Was it wonderful, scary, enlightening? What I feel like this Gene Key and the essence of Mr. Robin Williams is offering really speaks to the polarity here between the emperor and the fool. Being moved and driven by your desires to see something in the world and allowing things to be as they are in a very intimate relationship. And so in this kind of conscious creative container, I really feel the capacity to relax into knowing our rightness in the world, being present to the grace that comes through knowing what we want and being able to wait and to name and to create without having to have our sense of self so tied up to the end result, and to be with, embrace, and even move in relationship to our desires while allowing ourselves to have the lightness and the freeness of non-attachment to those desires having to be so true. Yeah, one more thing's kind of coming up, which is like all these energies are kind of intense. And I feel like I think about a comedian, and comedians oftentimes have to deal with a lot of pain in order to make the world funny. They speak about things that are hard to talk about, but they do it with this humor and this lightness that really makes them approachable and relatable and digestible. And so I think in our work today, in our creative containers, being conscious of times where we feel very frustrated or like we can't figure something out, and finding a way to incorporate or embody that lightness in it. Whether that be through just making a decision and going forward and seeing what happens, or allowing it to come back to a place of playfulness and possibility, or dropping into a place of receptivity and seeing what comes as a solution. There's a lot of flexibility and a lot of spectrum for what we can do here, and I think there's almost an endless possibility for how we can turn what could be heavy into something very light.